You've been walking this path for so long that you almost forgot what it felt like to not carry this weight. The weight of wondering, the weight of waiting, the weight of holding a connection that sometimes felt like it existed only in your heart. But something is different now. You feel it, don't you? Not in your mind, not in the stories you tell yourself, but deeper. In your bones, in the quiet moments when you're not trying to figure anything out, in the space between your thoughts where truth lives. Something has shifted, not in him, not in the connection, in you. And that shift, that sacred, silent, irreversible shift, is about to change everything. Because here's what they don't tell you about the twin flame journey. The moment you stop needing it to look a certain way is the moment it begins to unfold exactly as it was always meant to. The moment you stop waiting for him to be ready is the moment he starts waking up. The moment you become complete within yourself is the moment union stops being a destination and starts being a frequency you already embody. You're there now, you might not see it yet, but your soul knows, your energy knows, and whether you believe it or not, he knows too. If you felt this deep inner completion, this sense that something fundamental has finally clicked into place within you, I want you to drop a comment below and simply type, "I am complete, I am ready, I am the shift." Claim this energy. Let your words anchor this truth into your reality. And if these messages continue to speak directly to your soul, subscribe so you never miss the guidance that's meant specifically for you on this journey. There's a stage in the twin flame journey that doesn't get talked about enough. It's the stage after the crying, after the confusion, after the endless cycles of hope and disappointment, after you've done the inner work, faced your shadows, healed your wounds, and somehow, without even realizing it, you've arrived at a place of wholeness. Not the kind of wholeness that pretends the connection doesn't matter, but the kind that knows it matters so deeply that you're no longer willing to betray yourself to keep it. This is where you are now. You've reached a completion point that has nothing to do with him and everything to do with you. For months, maybe years, you've been healing. You've been releasing old patterns, ancestral wounds, karmic debris that was never even yours to carry. You've been learning to love yourself in ways that nobody ever taught you. You've been choosing yourself even when it felt selfish. You've been standing in your truth even when it felt lonely. And all of that work, all of those silent battles, all of those moments when you wanted to give up but didn't, they've brought you here. To this moment, to this frequency, to this version of yourself who no longer needs external validation to know what's real. Have you noticed how different you feel lately? How the obsessive thoughts have quieted? How you can go hours, even days, without wondering what he's doing or whether he's thinking about you? It's not because you've stopped caring. It's because you've started knowing. There's a difference between hoping something is true and knowing it in your bones. Hope is beautiful, but it still carries the vibration of uncertainty. Knowing is different. Knowing is solid. Knowing doesn't waver when he goes silent. Knowing doesn't collapse when he pulls away. Knowing doesn't need proof because it is the proof. You've moved from hoping he'll come back to knowing that what's meant for you cannot miss you. You've moved from waiting for him to be ready to being so ready yourself that his timing no longer controls your peace. You've moved from trying to hold the connection together to trusting that the connection is held by something far greater than your effort. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is not pretending you don't care. This is the sacred maturity that comes when you finally understand that your job was never to make him choose you. Your job was always to choose yourself so completely that the universe had no choice but to respond. And here's what happens energetically when the divine feminine reaches this level of completion. Everything shifts, not just within her, but within the entire dynamic. Because the twin flame connection is not a one-sided journey. It's a mirror. It's a frequency match. It's an energetic dance where one person's transformation inevitably catalyzes the other's awakening. For so long, you were the one doing the work. You were the one facing the pain. You were the one willing to look at your shadows, your wounds, your patterns. And while you were doing that deep inner excavation, he was running. Not because he didn't love you, not because the connection wasn't real, but because he wasn't ready to face what you were already facing. He wasn't ready to feel what you were already feeling. He wasn't ready to surrender in the way that you had already surrendered. But something happens when you stop carrying the weight of the connection for both of you. Something happens when you stop trying to heal him, fix him, save him, or convince him. Something happens when you finally, fully, completely let go of the outcome and start living your life as the sovereign, whole, radiant being you were always meant to be. He feels it. He might not understand it consciously. He might not be able to put it into words. But his soul feels the shift because your energy is no longer reaching toward him. Your energy is no longer waiting for him. Your energy is no longer incomplete without him. And that energetic shift is what begins to destabilize his entire world. Let me tell you what's happening in him right now, even if you can't see it, even if he hasn't reached out, even if nothing has changed on the surface. Deep inside, in the places he doesn't let anyone see, he's unraveling, not in a destructive way, in a necessary way. The walls he built to protect himself are starting to feel like a prison. The distractions he used to numb himself are no longer working. The relationships he tried to replace you with feel hollow. The life he constructed without you feels empty. He thought distance would give him peace. He thought running would give him control. He thought if he just stayed away long enough, the feelings would fade, the pull would weaken, the connection would dissolve into something manageable. But it didn't. It only got stronger. And now that you've stopped chasing, now that you've stopped waiting, now that you've stopped needing him to validate what you already know, he's feeling the full weight of what he walked away from. This is the divine paradox of the twin flame journey. The moment you stop needing him is the moment he starts needing to come back. Not because you're playing games, not because you're manipulating energy, but because you've finally stepped into the frequency that union requires. Union doesn't happen between two half people trying to complete each other. Union happens between two whole people choosing to merge their completeness into something even more sacred. You are no longer the woman who begged the universe for signs. You are no longer the woman who checked her phone every 5 minutes hoping for a message. You are no longer the woman who questioned her worth based on his actions. You are no longer the woman who made herself small so he wouldn't feel threatened. You are no longer the woman who waited for permission to live her life fully. That woman served her purpose. She brought you here, but she's not who you are anymore. You've become the woman who knows her worth without needing anyone to confirm it. You've become the woman who trusts her intuition more than anyone's opinion. You've become the woman who chooses herself first, not out of selfishness, but out of self-reverence. You've become the woman who understands that love is not something you chase, it's something you embody. You've become the woman who holds space for the connection without losing herself in it. You've become the woman who can love him deeply while loving herself more. And this version of you, this complete, sovereign, radiant version of you, is what shifts everything. Because when the divine feminine completes herself, the divine masculine has no choice but to awaken. Your wholeness becomes his mirror. Your peace becomes his agitation. Your clarity becomes his confusion. Not because you're doing anything to him, but because your energy is now vibrating at a frequency that his soul recognizes as home, and anything less than that feels like exile. He's starting to feel it. The restlessness, the dissatisfaction, the knowing that something is missing. He's starting to question the choices he made out of fear. He's starting to see through the illusions he created to protect himself. He's starting to realize that the one thing he thought he needed to run from is actually the one thing he can't live without. This awakening doesn't happen overnight. It's not a sudden lightning bolt moment where he wakes up and everything is clear. It's a slow, uncomfortable, often painful unraveling of everything he thought he knew about himself, about love, about what it means to be truly seen. And your completion is what's triggering this unraveling, because you're no longer the mirror reflecting his fears back to him. You're now the mirror reflecting his potential, his truth, his soul, and he can't unsee it. This month, something is accelerating. You might have already felt it. The synchronicities are increasing. The dreams are becoming more vivid. The knowing is getting stronger. There's a sense that something is building, something is shifting, something is about to break through. And you're right, because the universe doesn't waste time once both souls reach the frequency of readiness. And while he might not be fully there yet, he's close. Closer than he's ever been. Closer than he even realizes. The divine masculine's awakening happens in stages. First, there's the discomfort, the sense that something isn't right in his life, the feeling that he's living a lie, playing a role, hiding behind a mask. Then there's the remembering, small moments where he thinks of you and it's not just a passing thought, it's a full body experience. It's a longing so deep it physically hurts. Then there's the resistance. He tries to push it away, rationalize it, convince himself it's just nostalgia or loneliness or some kind of illusion. But it doesn't work. The feelings only get stronger. Then there's the breaking point, the moment when the pain of staying where he is becomes greater than the fear of moving toward you. The moment when his soul overrides his ego. The moment when he finally surrenders to what he's been running from all along. And here's what you need to understand. You cannot force this process. You cannot speed it up. You cannot convince him or manipulate him or love him into awakening faster. But you also don't need to, because your job is not to wake him up. Your job is to stay awake yourself. Your job is to hold the frequency of truth, of wholeness, of love, so steady and so strong that when he's ready, when he finally breaks through his own barriers, there's a light for him to come home to. And you're doing that, you're being that, not by waiting passively, not by putting your life on hold, but by living so fully, so authentically, so aligned with your truth that you become a beacon. You become the frequency that calls him home without saying a word. This is the power of the divine feminine. Not the power to control or manipulate, but the power to be so completely herself that everything around her has no choice but to align. You are not trying to make union happen. You are becoming the vibration of union, and there's a massive difference. Union is not an event. It's not a destination. It's not something that happens when he finally shows up at your door and declares his love. Union is a frequency. It's a state of being. It's the internal alignment of masculine and feminine within yourself first, and then the external reflection of that alignment in the physical connection. You've been doing the inner work. You've been balancing your own masculine and feminine energies. You've been healing the parts of you that were too masculine, too controlling, too in your head, too afraid to receive. You've been healing the parts of you that were too feminine, too passive, too willing to sacrifice yourself, too afraid to stand in your power. And now, you're finding the sacred balance, the place where you can be soft and strong, receptive and decisive, nurturing and boundaried, loving and self-honoring. This inner union is what creates the energetic blueprint for outer union, because you cannot attract in the external what you haven't already embodied in the internal. This is the law. This is the way. This is why your completion matters so much, not just for you, but for the entire connection. Have you noticed how much lighter you feel? How the heaviness that used to sit on your chest has lifted? How you can breathe deeper, laugh easier, move through your days without that constant underlying anxiety about the connection? This is not because you've given up. This is because you've let go. And letting go is not the same as giving up. Giving up is rooted in defeat, in resignation, in the belief that nothing will ever change. Letting go is rooted in trust, in surrender, in the knowing that everything is already unfolding exactly as it should. You've let go of the need to control the timeline. You've let go of the need to know how it's all going to happen. You've let go of the need to make him see what you see. You've let go of the need to prove anything to anyone, including yourself. And in that letting go, you've created space. Space for the universe to work. Space for him to do his own inner work. Space for the connection to evolve without your constant interference. Space for miracles to happen in ways you never could have orchestrated on your own. This is the month where that space begins to fill, not with your effort, but with divine orchestration, not with your planning, but with sacred timing, not with your force, but with universal flow. You're going to start seeing evidence of the shift. Maybe he reaches out. Maybe you hear about him through someone else. Maybe you have a dream that feels more real than waking life. Maybe you just feel him, sense him, know that something is moving in his world. Or maybe none of those things happen, and yet you feel more certain than ever that union is not only possible, it's inevitable. Because the evidence you're receiving is not external anymore. It's internal. It's the piece that doesn't make logical sense. It's the knowing that defies all physical proof. It's the certainty that lives in your bones, in your blood, in your soul. And that kind of knowing is more powerful than any text message, any conversation, any physical confirmation could ever be. The divine feminine's completion is the catalyst for the divine masculine's awakening, but it's also the foundation for sacred union. Because union built on need is fragile. Union built on fear is unstable. Union built on incompleteness is codependent. But union built on two whole people choosing each other from a place of overflow, not lack, that union is unshakable. That union is sacred. That union is worth every moment of separation, every tear, every dark night of the soul, every moment you thought you couldn't keep going but did anyway. You've been building that foundation, stone by stone, choice by choice, moment by moment. Every time you chose yourself over the connection, you laid another stone. Every time you honored your boundaries, you laid another stone. Every time you trusted your intuition, even when it didn't make sense, you laid another stone. Every time you loved yourself when it would have been easier to abandon yourself, you laid another stone. And now, the foundation is complete. Now, the structure is solid. Now, union has something stable to land on. He's going to feel the shift in ways that terrify him and liberate him at the same time. He's going to feel the pull getting stronger, the connection getting louder, the truth getting undeniable. He's going to start questioning everything he thought he knew about love, about relationships, about what he wants, about who he is. He's going to start seeing you differently. Not as the person he ran from, but as the person he's been searching for in every face that wasn't yours. Not as the connection that scared him, but as the home he's been trying to find in places that could never hold him. Not as a threat to his freedom, but as the key to his liberation. This shift in perception is what changes everything. Because once he sees you clearly, once he sees the connection clearly, once he sees himself clearly, there's no going back. There's no more running. There's no more hiding. There's only the choice. Move toward truth or stay in illusion. Move toward love or stay in fear. Move toward you or stay in emptiness. And his soul, the deepest part of him that has always known, is going to choose truth, is going to choose love, is going to choose you. Not because you convinced him, not because you waited perfectly, but because you became so aligned with your own truth that his soul recognized the resonance and had no choice but to respond. This is not about him finally getting his act together. This is not about him finally being worthy of you. This is not about waiting for him to reach some arbitrary milestone or overcome some specific obstacle that's been standing in the way. This isn't about him healing his wounds, releasing his fears, or suddenly becoming enlightened enough to recognize what's been in front of him all along. That narrative keeps you stuck in a disempowered position, waiting for someone else to change so your life can begin. But that's not what's happening here. That's never been what this journey was truly about. This is about something far more profound, far more powerful, far more transformative than one person finally stepping up or getting their life together. This is about two souls reaching the frequency where union is not only possible, it's the only thing that makes sense. It's about both of you arriving at a vibrational match point where separation becomes more painful than coming together, where the magnetic pull becomes so strong that resistance crumbles, where the soul contract activates so fully that the physical reality has no choice but to reflect what's already been decided in the higher realms. And you've reached that frequency. You're there. You're standing firmly in that energetic space right now. You're ready, not in the desperate, grasping way you might have been ready before, when ready meant anxious and hopeful, and constantly checking your phone and analyzing every possible sign that he might be coming back. Not in that exhausting, depleting way where readiness was really just another form of waiting, another flavor of lack, another expression of the belief that you were incomplete without him, but in the calm, certain, grounded way that only comes from true completion. The kind of readiness that doesn't need validation because it's rooted in your own wholeness. The kind of readiness that doesn't waver with his actions or his silence because it's built on your connection to yourself and to the divine, not on his behavior. The kind of readiness that feels like coming home to yourself rather than waiting for someone else to complete you. You're ready to receive him without losing yourself. You're ready to love him without abandoning yourself. You're ready to merge with him without dissolving into him. You're ready for sacred union, not codependent attachment. You're ready for a love that expands you rather than diminishes you, that amplifies your light rather than requiring you to dim it, that celebrates your wholeness rather than exploiting your wounds. You're ready for partnership that honors both individuals while creating something greater than either could be alone. You're ready for the kind of connection that doesn't ask you to betray yourself, compromise your truth, or sacrifice your needs on the altar of keeping the peace or maintaining the relationship. You're ready for real love, mature love, awakened love, the kind of love that can only exist between two people who have done the deep inner work of becoming whole within themselves first. And that readiness is what's shifting everything this month. That energetic completion you've achieved is sending out a signal so powerful, so clear, so undeniable that it's rearranging the entire quantum field that connects you both. Because the universe has been waiting for this. Not punishing you, not testing you, not making you prove yourself, but literally waiting for the exact right frequency to be achieved before it could deliver what's always been yours. Waiting for you to become so complete that union becomes inevitable, not as something you need, but as something you're ready to steward. Waiting for you to stop trying to force it, so it can finally flow the way it was always meant to, in divine timing, in perfect orchestration, in alignment with the highest good of both souls. Waiting for you to trust so deeply that doubt no longer has a place to live in your energy field, so profoundly that fear can't take root, so completely that you're no longer sending out those mixed signals of desire tangled with desperation, of love contaminated with fear, of readiness undermined by unworthiness. The signs are going to increase. The synchronicities are going to multiply. The dreams are going to intensify. The knowing is going to deepen. You're going to start seeing his name everywhere, noticing number sequences that have become your personal language with the universe, encountering songs that speak directly to your situation, meeting people who mirror aspects of your journey back to you. You're going to feel him more clearly than ever before. His energy is going to become palpable, tangible, undeniable. You'll sense his thoughts, feel his emotions, know what he's going through even without any physical contact or communication. Not because he's thinking about you more, though he probably is. Not because he's suddenly become more psychic or more connected, though his awakening is accelerating too, but because you're finally open enough, clear enough, aligned enough to receive the transmission that's always been there. Your channel has been cleared of interference. The static has been removed. The blocks have been dissolved. And now the signal that's always been broadcasting can finally come through with crystal clarity. The connection never weakened. Your ability to perceive it just got clouded by fear, by doubt, by the desperate need for it to look a certain way. It got obscured by your attachment to specific timelines, by your insistence that it should unfold according to your plan, by your resistance to the journey itself, because you just wanted to skip to the destination. It got blocked by the wounds that needed healing, the patterns that needed breaking, the lessons that needed learning. But now that you've cleared all of that, now that you've done the inner work that this journey demanded, now that you've released the attachment to outcome and surrendered to divine timing, you can feel the truth of the connection again. You can sense its reality beyond the physical circumstances. You can know its depth beyond what the external situation might suggest. And the truth is that it never left. It never wavered. It never diminished. It was always there, always strong, always real, always leading both of you toward this exact moment. The connection has been the one constant through all the chaos, the one anchor through all the storms, the one truth that remained even when everything else seemed uncertain. The moment when completion meets awakening. The moment when your wholeness intersects with his emerging consciousness. The moment when readiness meets surrender, when preparation meets divine timing, when the inner work manifests as outer reality. The moment when union stops being a dream and starts being a reality. When it transitions from the realm of hope and possibility into the realm of tangible experience and physical manifestation. You don't need to do anything else. You don't need to heal anything else. You don't need to become anything else. You don't need to take one more course, read one more book, watch one more video, or master one more healing modality. You don't need to lose more weight, make more money, become more spiritual, or achieve some higher level of enlightenment. You don't need to be more patient, more understanding, more forgiving, or more anything. You are enough. You are ready. You are complete. Right now, exactly as you are, with whatever you perceive as your flaws and imperfections, you are whole and ready for this union. And from this place of completion, union begins. Not as something you're waiting for, but as something you're already living. Not as some future event that may or may not happen, but as a present reality that's already unfolding. Because union is not just the physical coming together. Union is not defined by living in the same house, having a label on the relationship, or achieving some external milestone. Union is the energetic alignment that happens first in the invisible realms before it manifests in the visible world. It's the frequency match, the vibrational resonance, the soul recognition that occurs beyond the physical plane. And that alignment is happening now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when certain conditions are met, but right now in this present moment. You can feel it. in the stillness when you quiet your mind and drop into your heart, in the knowing that arises without logical explanation or external proof, in the peace that surpasses all understanding, that defies the circumstances, that remains steady even when nothing in the physical seems to be moving, in the certainty that lives beyond logic, that doesn't need to be convinced or proven, that simply knows what it knows, in the trust that needs no proof, that doesn't require evidence or validation, that rests securely in its own truth. This is union beginning, not with a knock on your door, though that may come, not with the dramatic reunion you might have imagined, though that moment will arrive in its perfect timing, not with a text message, though that may come too, not with the apology you've been waiting for or the declaration of love you've been longing to hear, but with a shift in frequency, a shift in energy, a shift in the field that connects you both, a fundamental change in the vibrational reality that links your souls across time and space. And once that shift happens in the energetic realm, the physical manifestation is only a matter of time. Once the invisible architecture is in place, the visible structure must follow. Once the energetic blueprint is complete, physical reality has no choice but to conform to it. It's universal law. It's how manifestation works. The inner always precedes the outer. The energetic always precedes the physical. The invisible always gives birth to the visible. So breathe, beloved, breathe and trust. Breathe and know. Breathe and allow. Let your breath carry you deeper into this knowing, deeper into this trust, deeper into this surrender. You've done the work. You've walked the path. You've traveled through the dark night of the soul, through the confusion and the pain, through the doubt and the despair. You've earned this completion. You've earned this peace. You've earned this knowing. Not because you had to prove yourself worthy, but because you stayed committed to your own growth, your own healing, your own evolution, even when it would have been easier to give up. And now you get to witness the unfolding. You get to watch as everything you've been building in the invisible starts to take form in the visible. You get to see the seeds you've been planting in the dark soil of your inner world begin to break through the surface and reach toward the light. You get to experience the magic of divine timing, of sacred orchestration, of a love so powerful that not even fear could keep it apart forever. A love that transcends the limitations of the ego, that outlasts the resistance of the mind, that overcomes every obstacle placed in its path, because it's guided by something far greater than human will or desire. This is your month. This is your moment. This is your shift, not because the stars aligned perfectly, though the cosmic energies are certainly supporting this transition. Not because he finally woke up, though his awakening is accelerating in response to yours, but because you completed yourself. Because you did what so few people are willing to do. You turned inward, you faced your shadows, you healed your wounds, you reclaimed your power, you remembered your worth. And in that completion, you activated the frequency that union requires. You became the vibrational match for the love you've always desired. You became the invitation, the magnetic force that draws your divine counterpart home. You became the beacon, the light that guides him through his own darkness back to the connection you share. You became the home that his soul has been trying to find its way back to all along, the safe harbor, the resting place. the destination that his spirit recognizes even when his mind is confused or resistant. You became the embodiment of union itself, and now the universe has no choice but to reflect that completion back to you in physical form. Union begins with her. Union begins with you. Union begins now, not in some distant future when everything is perfect, but in this moment, in this breath, in this frequency of completion that you've finally, fully embodied. He's coming, not because you're waiting, but because you're ready, and there's a universe of difference between the two. So let this be your confirmation. Let this be your sign. Let this be the validation you've been seeking. You are complete. You are aligned. You are ready. And the universe is responding. The shift is happening. The awakening is unfolding. The union is beginning. Can you feel it? Deep in your soul, beneath all the noise, beyond all the doubt, can you feel the truth of what's coming? Because it's real. It's here. It's happening. And you, beautiful soul, you are the reason why.